it doesn't hurt to have a second set of eyes on things. Having somebody to help you with your marketing is really, really important. I have people because I forget. It's so different when you're doing your own stuff. And I have a lot of people that help me because I forget too.
Welcome to the Impact Driven Entrepreneur, the podcast that helps you expand your reach and convert that reach into clients so you can lead your tribe with confidence and create change in the world while living the life you desire. And now your host, certified business coach and consultant, Mariana Ruiz.
Hey, and welcome to this week's episode of the Impact Driven Entrepreneur. Today I have such a special episode for you. It's going to be an on-air coaching session with Amy Jackson. And we go step by step into how to run a successful challenge. She just came off of doing a challenge launch, and I was participating in it as a viewer and as a participant. It was all about photography. And I had some tips for her for running a more successful challenge. And I wanted to do that as an on-air coaching call and share it with you because I get a lot of questions. A lot of people asking me about how to run a challenge. I've run them successfully every single month last year. In 2016, I ran a challenge. It was pretty exhausting, but I learned a lot. So I wanted to share this session with you and help you to really hone in on your challenge. If you are selling a program or something and you're not sure how to sell it, a challenge is a great way to do it. We get into the nitty-gritty numbers as well a little bit of what you can expect as far as conversions and how to improve a challenge every step of the way. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Today I have Amy with us. She is a photography specialist who helps you to get your photos up and going on your blog, and she is amazing and super talented at this. I just recently participated in her 30-day blog photography challenge. It's going to be an on-air coaching call, okay? So we're going to be talking about some things that you might be able to implement in your business as you're growing and expanding. And I want you to see like hands-on what it is that we talk about in a coaching situation that makes the difference to increase sales and increase leads in your business. Okay, so are you ready, Amy?
I am.
Awesome. So I guess like tell everybody a little recap about what you do, what the challenge and the program was all about, and kind of like set the stage for people so that they are fully aware of what we're talking about when we dig in.
Awesome. Okay. So let's see. My side hustle is teaching photography and photo editing to bloggers and entrepreneurs and Etsy shop owners and basically anybody that needs to utilize high quality photos online for their business. And so I did this challenge last month where I just gave people a prompt like blue or hands or face. And that way you could take the prompt and take any kind of photo you wanted that pertained to your business. And so it was a little longer than I feel it should have been. But overall, I think it went very well. And so Mariana was fantastic. I was actually very impressed with her photos, especially as they progressed through the course of the month. And now I wanted to just see how I could make some improvements in order to, I guess, bring it kind of full circle and make sure that people understand what they can get out of it and relate it to their work, their business. So.
Yeah. And I want to just point out here, like, because I think this is something that you did so right. And the first thing is, like midway through the challenge, you realized it was a little too long and you were like asking for feedback while people were still engaged. Like, how can we make this better? How can we improve this? And I think that was a really, really smart business idea for you to do that.
Yeah. You know what? I had never actually done a 31-day challenge. So it was actually kind of a challenge for me just to see what I thought of it. And I realized I like taking photos and this is hard on me. So I was like, let's get some ideas out here. Mm-hmm. What would you like?
Yeah. And I love that you did it while people were still engaged, right? Like it was only about midway through. Like I think we were like 10 or 14 days in when you did that. Mm-hmm. And I think that gives you a lot of good information and good feedback for future, how you're going to improve your launch and then your program in the future, right?
Yes. And the feedback was phenomenal too. I was very happy with it.
Mm-hmm. So that's one of the things I think you did really, really right. And I think another thing you did that was really cool was you were like engaging in every photo. And I think, like, first of all, I commend you for that because that was probably really exhausting after so many days. But I think when people do challenges, they forget, like, what is the point? What are we doing this whole thing for? And I think that you hit the nail on the head by connecting, because that I use like a really simple 3-step framework that I invented without being like cocky about inventing something. But it's like attract, right? So attracting the right people to your challenge or your program or whatever you're doing, and then connecting with it. And like connecting is the major thing. Without connection, you cannot get to convert, which is the third one. And so I think that you did that so right. Like everybody knew that you were on their side during the challenge. And I think that that was a huge pro for you.
Why, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So then normally after, have you done a debrief of the challenge? Kind of like looking at the numbers and like what went well, what didn't go well? Like, did you do anything like that?
I looked at the engagement as far as like who was the most engaged. And in the beginning, I kind of hinted that there was going to be some sort of prize for partaking in the challenge, but I really didn't want to say, like in the comment and post, the one that does the most wins, because I didn't want people just doing it to get a prize. I really wanted to see how genuine people were going to be with it and then reward the people that actually were genuine. So I didn't, and that probably is one of the problems with the launch when I did it, because I really wasn't promoting the fact that anything was coming, but I just wanted to see how genuine people would be. And so I looked at engagement and I kind of just noted to myself, not really searching anything out, but that like there was a lot of people really engaging, definitely in the first week to like 14 days, like you said, but then people really just dropped off. And some people tried at the end to kind of come back in and post a little bit more and kind of catch up. And other people were just like, forget it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but beyond that, no, I didn't do any more research into it.
Okay. So one of the things I like to do after any launch is called a debrief. And it's really just kind of like looking at the data, the numbers, and the stats, and then like seeing what we can improve for the next round. So we know already, just based on what we've talked about here, that like one of the things we could improve for the next round is shortening the challenge. So maybe like 7 to 14 days max.
Mm-hmm.
But let's dig into the numbers. Do you know how many people participated in the challenge?
No,
Okay.
that I
So
don't know.
that I would look at, right? So on average, a challenge will convert about 12%. And so when we look at the numbers, if we get more people in 12%, the actual raw number becomes bigger, right? But like 12% stays the same, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that is a good thing. And I think another thing that I would say, just from being in the challenge, I would have liked, just for being a business coach and not for being in the challenge, like I would have liked to see you do the challenge through email, like
Okay.
get leads on your email list, grow your email list, because the email list is the pulse, like the heart of your business. Without an email list, you don't have a business.
Right. Well, that was what I was going to ask you when you said, "Do I know how many people partook or whatever?" Edit that part out.
Yeah.
We're included in the challenge. Without an email list sign up, is there any way in Facebook to see?
I think
Uh,
you might, like, because you did it in your Facebook group, you might be able to know based on like, okay, how many people were actually posting stuff
yeah. So I would
like
have
that.
had to just kind of paid attention and maybe
Manual. Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Okay. So I was like, maybe there's some cool stats or something that she knows about that I don't. Darn it.
No, I think if you keep stats of your Facebook group, you might have done like, okay, when I started the challenge, my group was this number of people, and after the challenge, it was this number of people. Then you would have
Oh.
a general idea, but that
Okay.
would be the only other thing I can think of.
So I grew about 60 people, I think,
And how much was your group to start?
right around 500.
Okay. And I
And
would imagine some of them were already existing members that were participating, right?
right.
Yeah. So we don't know exactly, but around 60 people saw stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, more than that, 560. So even with a Facebook group, not everyone in the group will see posts. And so this is why it's really important to have an email list, because if we only market on Facebook, we're leaving it up to Facebook to show our post to somebody, even if it's a challenge that they want to be a part of, or even if it's something that they really want. We're leaving it up to Facebook. Whereas with email, you take 100% control. It's like you and their inbox. That's it. Like
Right.
there's no algorithm. There's no like, I feel they might like this. That's what Facebook does.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah. So I think for your challenge, though, being a participating member, I really enjoyed that you had the 31-day prompts like right as a pin post.
Mhm.
So I might collect the email addresses and still have all the days up and posted somewhere so that they know what to expect. But I would still collect the lead and the email address first,
Okay.
because I feel like I want to protect and secure your business first and foremost. As a coach, that's my job. So that's what I would tell you to do.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's totally easy enough to do.
Yeah. Okay. And then the other thing is stats and numbers, right? So if we knew how many people were on that email list, we could be able to say, okay, we had this many sales and we had this many leads. And therefore, I know that my percentage is on point, right? My challenge converted at 12% or it didn't. And then we would be able to say, okay, these are the things we can adjust to get that to 12%,
Mhm.
right? So we would be able to measure things a lot better to see what worked, what didn't, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So at the end of the challenge, tell everybody kind of like what you sold, what was your program?
So the offer was a video training course on how to use your smartphone, how to maximize it to its fullest so that you get the best possible photo. And then along with that was a companion course where you learned how to go through a specific photo editing app. I explained like what all the tools were and how they affect your photo so that then you could take the photo and then edit the photo. So that was the combined course that they were offered.
Okay. And what do you think was like the main pain point that people had prior to the course?
The main pain point, I think it varies. Hmm.
Because there can be more than one. Like that's totally normal.
Yeah, honestly, I get a lot of people just saying, I don't know what I don't know.
Hmm.
And, if I sit there and say, tell me where you're struggling or where you feel you need help, and they just tell me, well, I don't know where I need help, but I just know that my photos don't look good.
Mm.
That's a big one. And that's kind of the hardest one because then it's like, where do you start? But ultimately, I think beyond that is they know that they can take great photos from their cell phone, but they just don't know, I don't know how to put it. Ultimately, they just don't know what they're doing.
Yeah,
So,
I would pretty much agree with that. Like I have
yeah,
no idea what that.
just don't know what they're doing. So ultimately, I wanted to walk them through, well, this is all the things you need to do to your phone to have it ready to go. That you
Mhm.
can just be certain that all the settings are the right way and you can pick it up and snap photos and at least be ahead of the game and not, or not knowing what the different settings on your phone are or do. So it's
Mhm.
kind of like an intro and not necessarily going over what composition is or what lighting is or anything like that. It's just get to know your phone for photography.
Mhm.
So,
Okay. Cool. So what I think a primary pain point, right? Like if you're targeting business owners and when we're looking at a challenge and how to increase conversions from a challenge is like you want there to be the challenge ideally would be kind of like the step before the course. So like here's an example, right? I did a group coaching program. It was like for newer entrepreneurs. And the challenge I did was the step before, right? So they needed to know who they were going to target, who's your avatar, and who's your ideal client. And then they could confidently go into the course. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So we're kind of creating a gap, meaning like they need to be aware that there's enough of a pain point for them to like do something about creating change. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, and I know we had talked about for your challenge, having it be like more business focused, right?
Yeah.
Having the prompts be more like what a business owner, how it might relate to their business a little bit more. So I think
Mm-hmm.
you might be able to create a gap with that, right? But I think another piece is how you position the course. So like a course about photography is great, but if you tell me it's a course that will save you X amount of money because it's going to, you don't have to pay stock photography, you don't have to pay a photographer, right? You can show up on social media as, you know, and create your own beautiful pictures, right? It can be
Yes.
genuinely you. So I feel like the positioning of the course could be more of that. Does that make
I see.
sense?
Yeah, definitely.
And I totally am one of those people. Like I've said it on this podcast probably a million times. I don't consider myself visually inclined. So like I can write, I can create content that is like videos and written content, right? Or podcasts. But when it comes to visual content, I feel almost like a block there. And so what I would say is, you know, some of the things I personally experience is like, I don't feel visually creative, right? Like,
Yes.
I feel creativity around writing and around teaching and things like that. But then when it comes to visual, I'm like, I don't know. I don't even know what to portray, right? Like, am I trying to portray emotions and how do I do that? So
Perfect.
those are the things that I feel are a pain point, right? And then also, I think for you, bridging the gap, right? Like, how does taking photography or taking photography into my own hands, how does that benefit my business?
Oh, those are easy ones.
Yeah, they're easy ones, right? But it has to be crystal clear. And I feel like you really want to drive that point home
Gotcha.
because
Gotcha.
for me, being in the challenge was super fun. But I feel like it was a lot of effort to be doing if I didn't know why I was doing it.
Right.
If
And
I
I have
didn't
a
know,
feeling
like,
that a lot of people didn't get
yeah,
the why
yes. And so that's what you want to portray in your challenge.
and make it shorter.
Yeah. And then when it comes to your sales page, how well did the sales page convert? Like, did you have people? First of all, I guess let's go back to marketing a little bit. How many people went to your sales page, if you know?
You know, I didn't look at the stats on it.
So I would want to know if we were working together, I would be like, okay, what is your sales page? Like, how many people are landing on your sales page? How many people of the people that land are converting to sales? So then we
Well,
know,
that part is easy. There were 0 conversions.
okay, zero conversions. And we don't know how many people went there. So if there was 20 people that landed there and zero conversions, your sales page could be rocking, right? Like
Right.
you didn't have the traffic, right? But if there was 1,000 people that went to your page and zero converted, then we are like, okay, the problem is the sales page. Do you see
Right.
that?
Yes.
So what I would say, and then I think taking 2 steps back, remember we talked about the email list?
Mhm.
What happens is if we're relying on Facebook to show our promotional post, it's even less likely that our promotional post will get seen. So if you have an email list, however, you know that they're getting all the sales emails. So
Yeah.
it's one more reason to have an email list attached to your challenge or your promotion.
Mhm.
And I would also say, like, when I went back into your group, it wasn't like 100% clear that you were selling something. And so there's just a few things. I'm just going to list them out right here. If you're promoting something, I want you to take full advantage of cover photo, right? Like cover photo, I would love to see like, okay, this is the course. This is what it's all about. This is what you get. It's going to help you XYZ. And then in the description, you can write, go here to check out the sales page, right? And of course, you want to have more copy around it too. But like, this is why the course is going to be awesome, and go here to check out the sales page. So I would love that as the cover photo. I would love a pinned post about it. So that way, if I enter your group, I know this is what you're promoting right now.
Okay.
Leading up to the challenge for about 2 weeks prior, I like to have all of that be go to the challenge. Here's the link to register, right? And then during the challenge, you're like, okay, hey, we're in it. We're in the challenge. And you would still keep the link to register in case anyone comes in late, and people do. And I think you saw this with your challenge.
Oh,
People
yeah. I had a lot of people come in. Is it too late? No, just start.
Yeah, totally. So like, I would keep that up there for anybody who wants to join later. And then after the challenge, it all switches over to the group or to the course or whatever you're promoting. It can be one-on-one coaching. It can be a course, whatever it is.
Okay.
Okay. Other things. Did you already create the course, or were you going to create it as you go?
This one is already created.
Okay. So in the future, or for anyone listening, I will say as well, you can pre-sell courses so that in case you get zero sales, like you haven't put time into it. Okay. So what you would do, it would be kind of like a coaching program, right? Like you say, hey, I'm going to give you the first video and we're going to release it as we go. And so it's almost like a coaching program where like they get the content on a week by week basis.
Okay.
And that way you don't spend a lot of time in case it doesn't sell. I think your program will probably sell if you reposition it in the market.
So while we've been talking, there were 10 users that looked at this page.
While we were talking?
While we were talking, I checked. 10
okay.
people.
Oh, okay. 10 people went to the sales page. One of them was me.
Yes.
Okay. So see how, like, if you don't have a lot of traffic, a challenge will convert at 12%, but a sales page, like one of Amy Porterfield's sales pages with a professional copywriter, will convert at 9-10%. So if you have 100 people, that means you might have 9 people sign up. But do you see how if you have 10, you can't even get one, even if you have an expert copywriter?
Yeah, definitely.
So most sales pages will convert between 1% and 3%. That's normal. And so what you can do is just, let's change the way all of the marketing around the course happens so that you get more views on the sales page. Now, I'm just going to like be totally honest about this. Some people will say, just run Facebook ads. Facebook ads will give you traffic. And yes, it will. I run Facebook ads for small businesses, and I use Facebook ads in my business. Okay. And some people might say, like, just put money into Facebook ads, that will increase your traffic, right? Like that will get you 100 people on the sales page, or that will get you 500 signups. And the answer to all of that is yes. However, here's what happens to way too many people. And this is why I always warn people not to run Facebook ads yet. We don't have a selling mechanism that works yet, right? Because for a challenge, right, you're looking at the pre-challenge. So like getting people to actually sign up for the challenge. That's the pre-challenge phase. And then you're looking at the challenge phase, right? Like how is the content in the challenge moving people towards the sale? Is it or is it not, right? And then you have the follow-up sequence, which is after the challenge is over, you're promoting the course, and, you know, is that converting to sales? Yes or no, right? And so that whole thing is a selling system. What happens is if you're throwing Facebook ads in, and let's say you're doing a lot of money into Facebook ads, like let's say it's $1,000, and you don't have a system that you know will convert at 12%, you're converting at 0%, but we're not really sure kind of where the stops are. You put in $1,000 and you might still convert at 0. However, if you work the time and the energy and the effort into tweaking that system, I recently did this with one of my clients, and we started with a webinar that was failing. It was not converting at all. And we did it over and over and over again until she got it converting at a decent percentage to where she gave Facebook when she actually ran ads, because things were converting for her, she gave Facebook $2. Facebook then would give her $5 back because of the funnel was working. Okay. So that is the only way that I recommend people run Facebook ads, is if you have a funnel that you know works. Right now, we have some things to do for the next launch. And so what I want you to do is tweak all the things we've talked about and then kind of see where you sit.
Okay.
And then you can say, okay, yes, I need to change this, or I might not change that. Does that make sense?
Definitely.
Is there anything about running the challenge again that is bringing anything up for you?
Trying to think. I guess, well, ultimately trying to iron out an actual topic for the challenge itself, but probably more so would actually be just the pre-launch stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, would you recommend then that like each day I'm kind of giving some sort of value that kind of leads into what the challenge topic will be?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
exactly how I would do it. So for the pre-launch, I like to do different types of promotional posts. I don't like one post that like is repeated over and over and over again. But I would do probably like 5 to 6 different promotional posts. One can be like a story, another one can be traditional copywriting, where it's like problem, pain point, right? And then solution, and then position your thing as the solution. Another one can be like why they need to join the challenge, or why they might want photos for their business, right? Like just highlighting like the importance of the challenge and what the challenge will give them. We're not selling the course in the pre-launch, we're selling the challenge, even though it's free.
Right.
So that's for a promotional post. And then I think, in case too anybody's listening and is interested in doing Facebook ads, this is also how I decide what ad to actually use. Is I will use whatever of the posts I did that worked best. So I will test out like maybe 6 or 7 posts in Facebook groups in warm traffic. And then there's usually a very clear winner. And then I use that as the ad. And that saves you a big chunk of budget on testing.
It's your A/B testing before you even launch an ad. That's cool.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's what I would do for the pre-challenge. And then what was the other question you had, was about the actual challenge?
Oh, like, yeah, nailing down a topic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the content, honestly. But
So I would say, what is the thing before the thing, right? So like, what is it that I can learn or do, or what do I need to know in order to know that your course is the best thing for me? And maybe even it's not the best thing for me. Like, part of sales is also excluding people, right? So like, how do I know if it's for me or not for me?
oh, true. And in fact, because the girl that won, oh, I posted this today. I don't even know if you saw it, but the girl that won, she could definitely improve her photos, but she doesn't need the level of course that this one offered. And she uses Photoshop. She doesn't need help with the photo editing app either. And so she's like, thank you, but, and I was like, no, that's great. And so we're going to gift it to somebody that actually can use it. But I created a survey today and said, if somebody's interested in it, she's gracious enough to offer this up, you need to fill out this survey. And so I already have an idea of who I'm hoping will step up and fill it out. But
Mm-hmm.
ultimately, the survey is obviously narrowing down to make sure that they are truly somebody that is in the position that can gain the most from it.
Mm-hmm.
So if they only have a DSLR or want to use a DSLR, you're not going to win it because it's about using your smartphone.
Totally. Totally.
So yeah, I
Yes.
never thought about that though.
Yeah. And I would even say that right on your sales page. So on your sales page near the top, you're going to want to say, like, okay, this is who the course is for, and this is who the course is not for, because that will save you a lot of people's frustration, like getting to the bottom and being like, this is not for me, right? There's like a saying, and I don't know, I'm going to totally butcher it. Like, I suck at sayings, but there's a saying in sales is something like, it's as important for you to disqualify prospects as it is to qualify them. Like, it's just as important for you to say this is not for them. And I feel running a business in integrity, and always that's like my, my standard. I always want to know I won't sell to anybody unless I know it's a good fit for them.
Right.
So I would have that on the sales page near the very top. Okay.
Okay.
And then we're going to have my team actually put some screenshots of the sales page. But for the sales page, in the very, very, very top, you have 9-module video training course as the first thing that comes up on your sales page. I would change that to be saying bloggers or business owners, like attention business owners, how to get amazing, no fancy photos, no fancy camera required. And the reason for that is, and I think when we're selling a course, we kind of forget this. When you're selling 9-module video training course, like nobody really wants that. However, I do know that I am a business owner and I do want amazing photos and I don't want to have a fancy camera to lug around. So always coming at it from, okay, if I was reading this page, would I connect here?
Okay.
Every step of the way down the page. Okay. And then I also feel like you go right into what the course is, right? Like rocking your smartphone photos 101 is so great. I would change that to talk about, sorry, I feel like I'm going to cough again. I would change that to say something like, what are the pain points? We need to address the pain points at the very beginning, connect to where they are now. What does that look like?
Okay.
And then after we talk about what the pain points are, we would say something like, okay, this is why you need this, right? Like you need to take photos with your smartphone because you don't want to be lugging around like, a camera with you, a professional camera, or you don't want to have to be uploading pictures from your DSLR every day to post onto Instagram or whatever, right? So I would go into all of that.
Okay. And I always forget to link it to something tangible for them. I just think of the photo side of it, like how to take the photo, the technical aspects of it. And yet I kind of forget so much of taking it that step further a lot of times, I feel like.
Yeah. And that's really like the sales and marketing, right? It's so hard when we're so close to our craft and our skill and you're like so good at that. It's kind of like you follow me and other coaches probably, right? So it's kind of like when in coaching, coaches are like mindset this and mindset that. And I'm totally guilty, but I'm so in it that I forget that some people don't know what mindset is, right?
Yes.
It's kind of like we need to go back to like step one, like baby steps, and remembering that it's so hard to forget what you don't know. Like try to forget
So much so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, almost, I just feel like people should just know some of these terms. And so if I go back to try and like do the baby steps, like that I'm going to insult somebody, but to me, it's second nature. And yet you take for granted that people know what you know.
And
it's not always the case.
Yeah, it's only second nature because you're the expert. And so, number one, I think, hello, own that you're the expert, right? Which you've been doing a lot more of. And you've been showing up on camera. Like you're doing that a lot more. I've seen you do that a lot more over the last few months.
I've been trying.
Yeah, I commend you for that because I can tell.
Thank you.
So, anyone listening, own that you're the expert because you are. Okay. And then the other piece of that is it doesn't hurt to have a second set of eyes on things. Having somebody to help you with your marketing is really, really important. I have people because I forget. It's so different when you're doing your own stuff. And I have a lot of people that help me because I forget too. I remember one of our recent launches, I was launching with a friend of mine, and our coach tore apart our sales page, tore. It was like torture. And we were just like, okay, we get it. And between the both of us, we have 28 years of marketing and sales experience.
Wow.
And we still struggled. And that's because you're just always too close to your work.
It's so easy to point out the missing gaps or the flaws or even just offer fabulous ideas when it's somebody else's stuff. And then when it's your own, you're like hitting my head against a wall. I can't come up with that next step or that missing link oh, yes.
it's just blind spots, right? Like you can't see what you're so close to. You're so close to it. It's like you can't physically back up and see the whole picture.
Yes.
Okay, so I would say with the sales page, let's change the structure so that it's like the headline, yes, sign me up, yes. And then like going into what is the problem, the pain points now, and how can they also experience a transformation? It would be awesome if you had a case study or something that you could put in there. Do you have any even from other things you've done?
I have one lady that's supposed to be sending me stuff. I'm still waiting on it though, but
Yeah.
so hopefully soon.
Yeah, I would have something like case studies in your sales page for sure. And then all of this stuff about like being really into the photo side of things, that's how I feel about your sales page, right? There's a part here where you talk about raw versus JPG.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know how that helps my business.
Okay.
So every point, I want you to link it back to how it helps their business.
Okay.
And I love the before and after photo that you included in the sales page. I think that's really good. And then your bio, I think that's good too. Yeah. So I feel like those are some things that will help you have just a much stronger launch again. When do you see yourself launching again?
Probably next month. Where are we at? We're at the middle of September currently. Well, I mean, I would probably run the challenge next month again. Probably the challenge itself would be roughly in the middle.
Okay. So,
And so then the launch would be probably at the end of the month. I just don't want it to get too close to Christmas.
mhm, yeah. So like maybe October 16th that week
Sure,
for
I like
challenge. Okay.
it.
So for the pre-challenge where you're promoting the challenge, I would start doing that October 2nd.
Okay.
So the main thing that you'll want to have ready, actually you only need one thing to do the pre-challenge, and that is the landing page. So set it up, the landing page with the autoresponder, just like, hi, welcome. It's the first email, just that first sequence, right? Without using so many. Does that make
You
sense?
mean the
So, because we're going to be collecting emails this time.
right. So that's what I meant. This to like the landing page to sign up for the challenge.
Yeah, sign up for the
Okay.
challenge and then link it up to who do you use for your emails?
ConvertKit.
Okay. So hook it up with ConvertKit and have it send out automatically. Anyone that gets on that list or that tag or however you do it gets the welcome email. So welcome to the challenge. And then just kind of like a recap of what the challenge is all about. What are some general rules that they need to go into the Facebook group, and that's where the challenge will be, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And if you want to mention the giveaway, you can. You can just say you'll randomly select. You don't have to say how you're going to select, because I do want it to be, like you said, somebody that will truly benefit from it.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say for the challenge, have that welcome email up and ready to go. And then once you have that ready, you can start promoting. So you have like basically 2 weeks to get the landing page ready and the system set up.
Perfect.
I also, like, as a general tip, anyone doing challenges, I did a challenge every single month last year.
Wow.
Like an overachiever on challenges last year. And one of the things that I quickly learned is that I try to stay at least one step ahead. So if I'm in the pre-challenge, before the pre-challenge, right? So a week or two before the pre-challenge, I have all of the posts ready for the pre-challenge. So it'll be like all my promotional posts are ready to promote the challenge. Then once we get into the pre-challenge, so it would be like for you, it'd be October, the week of October 2nd, I would already have all of the challenge emails ready to go, all of the videos that I might be doing, or everything that I need for the challenge week ready. And it's basically 2 weeks ahead of time. And then during the challenge week, I will have already written all the follow-up emails.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
So now let me
And
ask you this question. You had initially had said for a challenge like 7 to 14 days. Do you find any difference doing 5 days versus 7 days? Like, do people fall off on the weekend?
I've done a 4-day challenge, 3 or 4 day challenge, and then I've done 5-day challenges. I've never done more. And
Oh, okay.
for me, it's exhausting because I do also comment on every single post and answer every single thing. So for me, I just don't have the bandwidth to do anything more than 5 days.
That makes so much sense.
Mhm. Yeah. And also, I want to also just remind you, right? Like when we're doing the full marketing system, 5 days is just the actual challenge period. You're also writing 6 or more promotional posts for the challenge. You're writing all the follow-up emails. It's a lot of writing and a lot of energy expenditure, especially like I want to be fresh on that last cart close day because you'll find that most people will buy on the last day of cart close.
Of course.
So you want to be fresh and rally until the end. But if you have like a 2-month period, it's just exhausting to be rallying at the end.
Yeah. I couldn't imagine that because let me tell you, the 31 days was rough enough.
Yeah. And so imagine adding like a pre-challenge and then the follow-ups. I mean, it would just be exhausting.
Yeah, no, we're going to keep it short and sweet this time.
Yeah. So what do you feel would be a good challenge topic, like based on some of the stuff we've talked about so far?
I definitely want to do the business challenge that we had kind of hinted to and talked about a little bit when I asked for the feedback early on. The idea, though, of being able to create a business challenge that encompasses anybody and everybody, essentially, is going to be the trick. So I'm thinking that maybe it's just walking them through a photo shoot. Like day
Mm,
one, we're going to think about the goal for the photo. Day two is going to be brainstorming the types of props we can use. And so maybe it's not going to be a photo a day necessarily as much as, unless they can actually screenshot their ideas or they could take photos of different props, maybe for feedback, and kind of walk them through different things like that. And by the end of the 5 days, create at least one really great photo, and then they'd be able to recreate this kind of thing for each photo that they want to do for their business then in the future. Because otherwise, I don't know how to incorporate everybody's business.
totally. So my question for that would be, how does that tie into your course? Like, how does that
Um,
increase my wanting your course?
oh, now there's a toughie. I don't know because actually I'm talking about the setup, but then I would teach you how to actually execute on it, I guess.
Okay, so like we're setting up and then actually executing is in the course.
Right. It's preparing your phone, but then like the last day of the module is really about using the photo app. And so like most iPhones, except for the most recent ones, didn't have some of the fancier, what would you want to call it, of capabilities.
Mm-hmm.
Like now they do. I think the 7 Plus did, and now the new one that's coming out, within the next month or two, depending on when you get it or which one you get, it's going to be fantastic. And the Samsung, the Galaxy line, they have a really great camera app. But otherwise, some of the other phones, they don't have like shallow depth of field and some of those other fancy things that you can get with the DSLR. So I kind of go over how to take what you can do with the camera app you have and then what you can do with the fancier versions and stuff. So kind of gets into that at the end, but to tie it in, I don't know.
Yeah, so that's where you might want to adjust the challenge and the course. Because the whole point, right, of a challenge is to teach and educate, yes, 100%, and to help people and inspire people. And also, we want to increase the drive for wanting your program.
Okay.
So that is a guiding question that you might even journal about for a couple of days. I don't know if you do journaling.
Not a lot. I do a little bit. I journal my gratitude points every day.
Oh, good. Love that. So I would journal like just free flowing of ideas of like, what is it about a challenge that I could do? Like, what are some action steps that would help somebody want my course more?
Okay.
Or what are some things that people might feel like, oh my God, I got so much value, but I still want more? Like, I want you to leave them a little bit excited and hungry for your program.
Mhm.
And so maybe it's faster and easier to take photos, or maybe it's higher quality photos with your smartphone compared to what they've been doing. Maybe the first one is just to get into a habit of forming, like, here's a like how I might have positioned your current challenge is like, okay, now you're kind of in the habit and you kind of are now thinking visually about what you might want to portray in your photos. But what if you could make it more applicable to your business? Or what if you could make it even higher quality because you had the right settings, right?
Mm, okay.
So those are kind of my thoughts, right? Like keep them excited and still wanting more.
Okay.
And the other idea that we had to make it be more business oriented was like kind of visual images that represent things. So, like their vision, their mission, that kind of stuff.
Yes.
And that would be pretty applicable to all businesses and would also really just help them in general with their business. So, that way it's still capturing their attention. And you can say, here's how you can use this as visual content, right? And in the course, you're going to learn how to take faster photos, better photos, and do it all with your smartphone anywhere you are.
I like it.
So, in general, just kind of like no matter what the challenge is, positioning your course as the next logical step.
Okay.
Cool. Awesome. Anything else coming up for you?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So I'm really excited for you, and I can't wait to see what you come up with next. We're definitely going to follow back up with you and like insert a blurb on the show notes after your next challenge, see how that
Cool.
goes. And we'll definitely link to all your stuff. Your Facebook group is awesome, the Learn Blog Photography Facebook group.
Thank you. And I'm so happy you've done such a great job in there.
Yeah, you can see all my old photos. And yeah, is there anywhere else that people can connect with you and come find you and learn more about photography?
Yeah, actually, obviously on my website itself, learnblogphotography.com. And I post a lot on Pinterest. And so it's pinterest.com/learnblogphotog.
Awesome. Thank you
Yep.
so much.
Well,
It's been
thank you.
awesome having you here. Thank you.
Well, thank you for bringing me on.
Yeah, you're welcome. So there you have it, another episode of the Impact Driven Entrepreneur. Thank you so much for bearing with me. I have a little bit of a cold, and I just want to thank you for tuning in and listening and really taking the time to invest into your business and really improve your challenge or your launch or whatever it is that you're working on in your business. And what I want to do is, if you found value in this episode, I would just love it so much if you could go to iTunes or Stitcher and leave me a rating and review. Let me know how you're enjoying the show so that I can go ahead and create more shows that match the things that you want, right? Like, what is it? I read every single review. And so go ahead and go to iTunes or Stitcher or wherever your podcast app is and leave me a review and let me know what you want to see more of, right? Like, what are you enjoying? And I will bring you more of that. So I can't wait to hear from you. Have an awesome day. Bye-bye.